You're listening to the Synergy Leadership Podcast, a discussion with engaging, empowering, and enlightening leaders about the greatest competitive advantage in business and entrepreneurship that often goes unrecognized: a team's energy. Here's your host, the woman who puts the energy in synergy, Karen R. Jenkins.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Synergy Leadership Podcast. I am so excited to have a very special guest, Mr. Alvin Austin. Alvin is a management consultant currently with KRJ Consulting. However, his background is just phenomenal and all the things that he brings to the table. I'd like for you, Al, welcome, of course, to our podcast. But at this time, could you introduce yourself to our audience, giving them a little bit about your background and how did you get to this point?
Sure. Thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me to be a part of this. I've always admired your work, and thank you for allowing me to participate today. So, native Charlottean, grew up, in a challenging community. I was born in one of those shotgun houses. I don't know if a lot of people know what those are, but I was born in a shotgun house. It's just kind of one room back in the 60s. Got an opportunity to really advance my life through education. Came first in my family to go to a 4-year college, went to UNC Chapel Hill, where initially wanted to be an attorney, but life happens, and found myself in nonprofit world and small business, had an opportunity to serve my community as an elected official. But along that journey, it's just been wonderful to meet a lot of different people, share the gift that God has given me, which is a gift of helps, and serve in many different ways. And so I'm happy to be with KRJ Consulting and working with many of the projects that we're on, because those help people and they grow businesses. And so that's a wonderful sweet spot to be in.
I'm always amazed, Al, the more that I learn about you. You're like an onion. Like, I'm thinking that I know everything there is to know about Al Austin, and I find out that you are deeper and deeper and deeper experiences that have made you the man that you are today. When you look at your history, you are a well-respected leader in the community, a community advocate in the Charlotte area. Can you tell us a little bit about your specific leadership style and your leadership strengths?
So I've always said that I was a servant leader. I'm a servant leader in the fact that I look at where people need help. I look at marginalized communities. I look at resources and connections I might have, and I use those to try to help that situation, that community, that person. And it's kind of a natural for me. I'm not quite sure. I think, of course, we all have spiritual gifts, and I have gotten the gifts of help. So it's the way I'm designed that I can make sure that I'm helping people. And that's one reason why I enjoyed being on Charlotte City Council. Now, I will say that was part of the toughest roles I've ever had, but the most rewarding, because I got an opportunity to help a community that I actually grew up in. So I served on District 2 Charlotte City Council, and that was Beatty's Ford Road and LaSalle Street here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so that was my territory. That was my playground, so to speak. So the opportunity to serve that community and help the people that were there was just phenomenal. I think when I look at skills that I bring to the table, actively listening to people, that is probably one of my key strengths. I think we even talked about this yesterday, Karen, was where you pause and you kind of ponder what that person has actually said, just to make sure that you heard them correctly. So I think that's a good skill that I have. Also, I believe I'm disciplined and connected, right? So I do believe there's this wonderful synergy between people and us as human beings here on earth, that we all got to help each other. We always got to support each other. So I bring those things to whatever role that I'm in to make sure that we're building for all. We live in a time now, unfortunately, where people want to tear down each other. That's not what I do. I try to build people. If I can help you, if I can lift you or connect you with a resource or find something for you, that's just innate to me, and I thrive in that space.
And I've watched you just in the time that we've been together. I've watched your ability to create synergy. We've opened up an office in Charlotte, North Carolina, led by Al. And Al has introduced me and invited me and the team members in to Charlotte to meet other leaders and business colleagues. And it's amazing to see you in action, Al. We have Synergy Leadership as our platform. I'm an avid believer in synergy and how, leveraging the energy of myself and others to create ultimate results for the team. But I actually see you doing that every day. So talk to us about how you have been able to build relationships. And these aren't surface relationships that I've seen. The people that you've introduced me to, I know they can breathe you like oxygen, and it's amazing to watch. So tell us a little bit about how have you been able to build these relationships that have gone not just from a horizontal, but gone deep. You've gone vertical with yours, and they seem to be long-term relationships that I know you can pick up the phone and call any one of those people that you introduced me to and ask them for almost anything.
I think a lot of this, Karen, is rooted back to my mom, and she was that person in the neighborhood that, if something was going on over here, then we can help. If somebody lost their job and they needed food, my mom was there to kind of help that. So I took on that same role and just making sure that we're supporting each other in our communities, particularly African American communities. That whole sense of neighborhood and a village, we still need to have because we can still help each other. We can still grow each other. Those relationships that I have is, I think, because of mutual respect, honesty, being authentic, listening, as I said, and trying my best to support them in whatever goals and visions and dreams that they might have. And when they rise, I rise and our community rise. So I think it's that, I bring to the table just that a willingness just to grow us as a people, grow our neighborhoods, grow us as Black people. And as I said, our voices are Black history. So we need to make sure that we are still being relevant, that we are still doing some phenomenal things in our community. And we need good leaders. We definitely need good leaders in our community.
Thank you. So I want to go back to something, and you said it in two responses, and it was about effective listening.
Mm-hmm.
And we, as you shared, we talked about it yesterday. There's a difference. Listening is a skill, and most people don't understand that it's something that has to be practiced because as humans, especially in today's society, I am listening to respond.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily hearing you. It's almost like a sparring contest. You say something, so I'm poised, right? I'm hearing you, but I'm in my head, I'm hearing you, but I'm hearing you so that I can respond to you. I'm not listening.
Exactly.
So talk to us a little bit about that skill set. How do you go about ensuring that it's not that sparring thing where it gets worse in arguments because nobody's receiving information then. It's really just back and forth. But how do you go about
Wonderful
the
banter,
process?
right?
Yes, the banter. How
Yeah.
you get around the bantering to the actual component of listening?
Yeah. I think is that I pause to ask another question. When people are talking, you might want to go back and say, what I'm hearing you say is XYZ. And that pause, as we talked about the other day, is very powerful because that pause allows the person, to understand that you're thinking about what they just said, and then you're going to give an answer. So many times I'll pause and I'll even say, let me ponder that for a moment. And what I'm doing is really trying to process what they're saying, or I might even repeat back to them, what I heard you say is XYZ. Because again, as you said, most people are trying to just respond. I want to make sure I'm clear what you're asking me, what I'm clear what you said, because sometimes, we can get very distracted and we live in a world where we got so much going on, there's social media, there's text and all these things that you really need to be clear. And I think people appreciate that. One of the things when I think back to Charlotte City Council, people liked coming to talk to me because I spent most of my time just listening to them. And a lot of times people just want to share their problems. I may not have been able to solve everything, but the mere fact that I sat there and I listened to them for the 30 minutes or so. I used to host meetings on Saturdays at a local hotel. So it started at 9 a.m. and lasts until about 3. So you got 30 minutes with your city councilman. Half the time I'm sitting there just listening. Okay. And I'm trying to understand, not trying to solve, but making sure I understood, but then also providing resources when I thought it was available. But I think that that talent of listening is one that a good leader needs to have in moving forward with whatever they're doing.
So, in the round line of synergy,
Mhm.
it's challenging to be able to work with people. It's challenging to put teams together.
Mhm.
Can you share an example of a time when you witnessed a strong synergy within either a leadership team or between organizations, particularly with your work in institutions in higher education or working with potential clients that we have right now? Give us an example of a strong synergistic relationship and what were the key factors that contributed in your mind to that synergy?
Well, Karen, I would like to say that I have been blessed over my journey of these 40 something years. I'm 63. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. I know I don't look it, but
No, you
but
don't look it at all.
but I've been blessed in the roles that I've been in as a leader that, I could bring to the table an authentic character and personality that allows the people around me to be themselves. And together we can build something from that. When I think back to even the work that I'm doing with KRJ Consulting, we look at the strengths of everybody, right? And we play off of those wonderful strengths and we work together to achieve a goal. That's phenomenal, right? Because it's not so much about, as you are the president and CEO, I'm the boss, and you correct us on this quite often, is that we're together in this. And Al brings to the table this, David brings to the table this, and working together in that kind of environment, you can do nothing but succeed. So that's one. Another one would be just working with North Carolina Department of Transportation in our HBC unit. We did some phenomenal work statewide, but I think the reason is because we played off of those strengths of each other. It wasn't about me being the director. It was about us as a cause and what we were trying to do. If we needed to do something, I was okay with going to the store, buying this, coming back, and meeting people and those types of things. So that kind of environment creates a wonderful ability to get things done, realize vision, and provides mutual respect for people because we spend a lot of our lives at work, 40 plus hours a week. People want to feel valued, they want to feel appreciated. And if you're a good leader, you know that part of your role is to motivate those people and get those things out. So you've got to make sure that you're bringing to the table an authentic you and a good leader and good leadership skills.
That is so true. And capsulize what you just shared. And when I look at our team specifically and other teams that we've been part of, if you look at the basketball analogy, is leveraging people's gifts. And we know that everybody's not going to be a point guard, nor is everybody going to be a post. But if you can put the right people in the right seat and leverage their skill set, the synergy that is created when each person is contributing their gift, there's no competition. There's only one Al, right? There's only one Al, there's only one KJ, there's only one PJ, but together we come together with this symphonic or like a symphony, and the music is beautiful. So I love seeing what we as a team have created when we talk about that model of synergy. The other thing I'll touch on is our mantra at KRJ Consulting is helping people, adding value, and making a difference.
Yeah.
And what I love about our group is that our core values don't necessarily mirror each other. They're not identical, but they definitely align. The helping people, adding value, making a difference. And when I look back at your history, Al, you have been doing that all of your life. When I look back at David, and I look back at Amelia, and I look back at Brenda, some of our key players, that has really been our mantra. That is what we do. I'm gonna put your business in the street, okay? I was impressed with you because you are a part owner in a clothing store, and you and I were talking one day, and you said, Karen, what I do is I gift to a graduating senior a suit.
Mhm.
And I'm talking custom made suit. I'm not talking the play suit, right? Talk to me about when did that start? What was the catalyst behind that? When did it start? Because I know it's been impactful with the people that you have touched in doing that. But what was the premise behind that?
Let's see. That started so long ago. I think, growing up, you learn to appreciate things. And so, in the course of my life, of course, I had an older brother who used to hand down clothing to me, which sometimes it was great and sometimes not. But as I began to grow older, I realized that not everybody is blessed. And so, again, we have to go back and help each other. So I believe it started with my career with the YMCA. We've had some individuals in the community, kids particularly, who did not have all the resources possible. I'm recalling an incident where one kid came to the branch and Karen, sadly, he didn't have on any shoes and it was 900 degrees outside. And so I think it became that point that I understood that, we need to help. So of course I got my team together and they knew my authentic, here's my American Express, go get him some food, go get him some shoes, let's go here. And that started. And then when I got to Johnson C. Smith in my career as director of development, we realized that all of our students did not have proper clothes to go for interviews. So it started there, I believe. It started there with getting the suit, blessing those students with a suit, also contributing to a clothes closet that we had there. That translated when I went up to you in North Carolina Department of Transportation in HBCU, we created an entire clothes closet so that those students at our HBCUs at any time could come and gather a suit, professional clothing, anything they needed for interviews. And that has continued. I continue to do that because I think it's a great opportunity for us as adults, Black Americans, to help us and reach back.
Thank you for that contribution. It is huge, and I know it's huge to the eyes of the recipients. And one thing that I like to share with people is when you do the servant leadership or you in that servant leadership role, it's not robbery to help someone.
It's not.
And you can give time, you can give money, you can give suits, you can give whatever. But when we are blessed, to whom much is given, much is required. And when we are blessed, I think we can't lay back on our successes. We have to focus and make sure that we're giving back to our community in some way. And I commend you for doing that and for being that role model, that mentor for so many. As you said, some people don't understand that they are not their circumstances. If they don't have exposure to certain things, if they don't know that there's a world outside of their circumstances, they don't know that they can get beyond that. And that's what we want to make sure that we're focusing on as well, is ensuring that we're exposing kids that don't have or don't know to opportunities that are out there. And they're only limited by their thought processes. They're only limited by what they think they can do. And if we can raise the bar and help them reach that, then that's our blessing.
And Karen, I wanted to go back to the mission of KRJ when you were talking about helping people and building relationships. If you look at the top line of my resume, all that is in there. And when you and I began to talk about this role and coming on, I kept looking at it and I said, my God, how did this happen? And so I knew that was God, that's where I needed to go because I had been on the sabbatical. I've been working since I was 17. So I've been working quite a bit of time. And I had that blessing, the blessing, I call it, to be on sabbatical for about a year and just kind of refocus life and see what I wanted to do. But the opportunity, and when I went to your website and kind of saw what this organization was about, I knew that was a good sign, a good place to go.
But we have been blessed ever since you joined. We were blessed before that, but we were super blessed when you joined us.
Indeed.
So Al, when we look at synergy, of course, our energy is the ability to leverage a team's energy to create results, adapt to change, and make a difference. Share your perspective on how you have seen this work within our organization.
Mm-hmm. We all have wonderful strengths at KRJ Consulting, and we leverage those as much as possible. So my president, my colleague, Ms. Karen here, is very much a strategic thinker, along with Brenda Anderson, who's also one of our team leaders, and David Howard. I accept the fact that I'm not as strategic. I'm probably more tactical, but you need both. You need both within an organization to thrive, because if you only have strategic thinkers, sometimes those things may not get brought down into the real world. So you need people like myself, Amelia and PJ to kind of implement those things. And that's our strength. And that's my strength. I lean quite heavily sometimes on those personality analysis that we do. The one that really captured my attention many years ago was Strength Finders. Strength Finders said that I was intentional, connected, disciplined, deliberative. So all those things mean I can get things done. And I run with that. I know that strategic thinking, maybe I can work towards that, but this is where I work. And so, as you know, Karen, you'll give me something. Do I get it done? I can get it
Oh,
done. And I keep,
yes.
yeah, and I'm okay with that. As I share with you guys often, I get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. That's because that's when God's talking to me, but it's also our peak performance. And so I work there. And then I see it in all of our other team members. We've got Amelia, who is awesome. She's a former elected as well. And she looks at grammar and she looks at, all the wonderful things. I can write all day, but I'll miss something. But we lean on her for that. We lean on PJ for something else. We lean on Christine for graphics. So we all have other talents, even though we might be in this particular role, but we help each other succeed at that.
I feel sorry for most of you with me and David and Brenda, who are all visionaries. Yeah,
Which is great.
Yeah, we can get out there a little bit, but it's great because you also ground us, right? You bring us back when when our sight is too far, or we've already come up with one vision, and then all of a sudden we have three more that come in the door. You're like, oh, wait a minute. You guys need to focus on this one. Let's get this one out the door. So thank you for all you do and all you contribute to this team, because I promise you we couldn't do it without you. We have some major projects that we're working on right now, and you have been an instrumental part of that to wow our client. We had a 1-year contract last year and at a major agency in DC, and our challenge was that our sponsor left. And for those people who have been out there in management consulting or just in projects in general, as the vendor or the person, or what we call it, a trusted advisor, when the sponsor leaves, sometimes that, plane can crash and burn. But ours took off because we had made a remarkable footprint in the short amount of time that we had been there with our sponsor. And when our sponsor left, the people that took the reign from her were very impressed with our work and what we delivered. And you were a huge part of that. So I wanted to publicly thank you for that, which ultimately the whole team came together and wowed them with service to the point that we got a bigger contract the second go round. So it's synergy works and it works well. And when your client can see that the results of your synergy, it pays off for everybody. It pays off for them because they get the benefit of that synergy, but it pays off for us because we get to continue working with them. So thank you for all you do and all that the team does to get us there. As we round things out, I want you to share with the audience of everything that you've done, Al, and everything that you've experienced in your leadership journey. What would you say you're most proud of?
Karen, I'm very proud of all of it. To come from a meager beginning, with family was not wealthy. We struggled, and I struggled personally because not diagnosed, but I have signs of dyslexia at times, and so never diagnosed. The solution at that time in the '60s was you get your butt whooped if you didn't get things done. So never diagnosed, but the fact of just being grounded with God is powerful, and that has been important to me. I've seen and looked at all of my God assignments as that. There have been God assignments where God wants me to go and work in that area. And that's how I've always kind of approached it. So, God, where do you want me to go now? I've been here. I learned something. I helped somebody. Where do you want me to go now? And then I always get the feeling when it's complete that another assignment is coming, right? And I know how much time we have left, but I remember being at the Hillcrest Family YMCA in Cleveland, Ohio. I went up to Cleveland, Ohio to run a YMCA there and done some phenomenal work there, raised a whole lot of money. One of the things that we did was built a new playground, found the money. It was about $100,000 plus got 90 volunteers to install it. The next day I came back to the branch and that peace came over me and said, this is done. It wasn't so much about just the playground, but it was all I had done at that point. And I looked around the branch, I looked around the community, how we had engaged everybody. And God said, "You're done. Well done. Now I got something else for you to do." And so I kind of go with that. And that's been such a peaceful journey. I've learned a whole lot about myself and people, and I'm not dead yet. So I still got plenty more things to do. But that journey has been phenomenal. But I always have it kind of rooted in God. I had a praying mother, I had a praying grandmother. And so they always are in the back of my mind to make sure that whatever I'm doing is God centered and God assigned. And I talk to him often to make sure that I am on the right road.
It's like God GPS. I tell you, I do it as well. My final question for you, Al, is if you could give one piece of leadership advice or advice in general to our listeners, what would that be?
Listen, listen to people. As we talked about it, don't be so quick to respond. Pause. You gave me something yesterday. Take 1, 2, 3 and respond. After someone's said something to you or responded to you, just take a moment and respond to make sure you're clear. I think a lot of times people just misunderstand because they're not listening. But as leaders, I think we definitely need to listen to what's happening and appreciate and respect where people are coming from, because you don't know all the answers. And it's good to have people who feel comfortable to share, and it's authentic. It's an authentic appreciation. But listening, I think that's probably one of the most important things that any of us can do, whether that's relationship, whether that's work, or life in general.
Oh, thank you so much, Al. I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together. I hope you'll come back and share more with our audience in the future. We appreciate you being here. And to our audience, thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Synergy Leadership Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Synergy Leadership Podcast with Karen R. Jenkins. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe, rate, review, and share our show. See you next time.